Do you worry about planning for the new year and you get really nervous about how do you make your best new year happen because you don't have a lot of self-trust? Well, just like the sheet on here is a blank slate, so is the next year. But I'm going to teach you some really practical, doable strategies to help you to have your best 2025. My name is Dara Thomason, and I am the Quilters Coach. And this is episode 177, How to Create the Best Year Yet. Hello, everyone. So I am excited to share with you how to plan your best year. And this is coming out December 12th. So there's a few more weeks before we have the new year. And right now you're probably thinking, Dara, I do not have time to think about the new year. I am deep into Christmas and preparing for Christmas. I get it. But the best time to have, if you want to have peace for your garden, you have to have started earlier. And so this episode is here to really help you start thinking about different ways on how you can guarantee your success for 2025 or wherever new year is coming. All right, but before we go into the meat of the episode, I wanted to share a win from one of my clients. And this is from one of my clients who attended my workshop that I did in person. And I was talking to her about what did it mean for her to take that time. And one of the things that I found that was really interesting of what she said was, and she's a business owner and she has a lot of responsibilities. She owns this business. And she said, it's easy to be on the fence, and it's easy to make excuses. She says, but you have to change to take action. And I feel like this is really appropriate going into the new year because a lot of us have an incredible life if we allow ourselves to see it. But in order for us to really make the change and to really shift into the person we want to be, we have to be willing to take some action. And so this episode is going to be a combination of taking action externally, but mostly important to take action internally. And so I'm going to invite you to maybe stop what you're doing and to just be with me in this time. And I do encourage you to pick up a pencil or a pen and start writing some things down because this episode is going to be very tactical, just like our past episode on the Eating 101, because I want to help set you up for the most success in your own life. And the only way you can do it is to really step into your power. Okay, you ready? You with me? Now, like she said, it's easy to stay on the fence. It's easy to make excuses. We know how to do that. We're really good at that. But to taking that action to change. Okay. So the first part about taking action, and this is also very applicable at this time with the holiday season. So we are inundated with ads. Now, if you look back at the history of advertising, you will see that they have to make you believe that it is more important for you to spend the money to give them your money than for you to keep your money. So they have sold you on my happiness is reliant on me purchasing this thing. Now, realistically, like we're talking, this is just a what's the system we have? Commercialism? No. How money works is, and we live in a capitalist society. So it works where I am going to give you money for something that you give back to me. So back in the day when maybe I had a dairy farm and you had a bunch of chickens, we could just swap eggs for milk. But not everyone had something that they could trade services for. So money became a placeholder of value. And then marketing came in and said, we've got to somehow get these people to believe that if they have the new shoes or if they have this kind of car or they go on this kind of vacation, then they can be happy. So there started to be this idea that happiness came from outside of you. We also have, with the American Constitution, we talk about the pursuit of happiness. And so again, this is now believed that we don't create our own happiness. We need to go and get it. Okay. So marketing has done a really good job of saying, hey, in order for you to be happy, you have to have this car or have this, whatever that is. Now, we actually know it's not true. However, for me to take care of my children, I need to ensure, to be a good mom, I ensure that they have food, they have clothes that fit them, and they have their needs met. So there is definitely that balance. Now, the problem I see, especially with the women I work with, is they will say to me, well, I can't be happy or satisfied with my life until I look a certain way, until I weigh a certain amount, or maybe it's until I finish a certain amount of quilts, or I have a certain kind of house or cleanliness or whatever that is, or a certain level of happiness in my marriage. I remember one of my clients, the first thing she asked me was to have better sex with her husband. And I was like, all right, let's do it. Right. And so we have this balance of, yes, we want to have joy in our life. And we have been persuaded, or we have these ideas that in order to be happy, we need to have a certain number of things. But that definitely is not true. Okay. In order for us to be happy, we have to learn how to do it inside of us. Now I'm going to prove it to you. If I said to you, if we were having a conversation sitting beside each other and I said, oh my goodness, you are the most beautiful person I have ever seen in my life. If you don't believe my words, then it's not true. Because you're like, no, I'm not the most beautiful. And I'm like, no, really, like the most beautiful person in my mind, she has white hair, she does this, this, this. And if you don't believe it, then it's not true. So when you buy something, or if you've lost weight in a way that's really like you're being really mean to yourself, etc., then it doesn't feel that great. Right. And now every time you go on the scale, you're like, I better not gain that weight back. Because it feels so fleeting. It doesn't feel like it's permanent. Okay. So one of my clients asked me to do a podcast about this because she was concerned about every year we go through the same dance where you say, I promise I'm going to be better. I promise I'm going to do this. But deep down, you don't actually have the skill set, you don't have the ability, and you don't have that self-trust to actually change. So I'm going to walk you through 3 different ways that you can change the way that you look at planning your new year. Are you ready? All right. The first thing I'm going to recommend is, and this actually comes from my Perfectionist Recovery book, okay? So at the back of my Perfectionist Recovery book, I have what's called a time capture. Okay. Now I am sure that there is very fancy, like a fancy time tracker app or something that you can have. But what this is basically is you could just print off a schedule, right, for the day. And what I want you to do is I want you to collect data. So I want you to just you can just print off 3 pieces of paper with a calendar from 7 in the morning till when you go to bed. And you basically just write down, oh, I woke up, had some breakfast, I scrolled on my phone, I watched some YouTube. I went to the grocery store. I came home. I cut out some fabric. I went and picked up the grandkids. I came home, scrolled a little bit more, made some dinner, and then sat and watched TV with my husband for the rest of the night. Okay? If that's a typical day, then great. You can just do that. And then what you're going to do, and just be very transparent. Like, this is just what I do. This is just who I am. There's zero judgment. I know that's going to be hard. So, but what happens now is that you have collected data. This is basically how you live your life. And so now we have a realistic view of who you are. Okay? So now what I want you to do is you can print off another piece of paper if you want, or however you want to do this. And then you decide, this is the person I want to be. So you write down, I wake up, I do my exercises, I have some meditation, I only eat if I'm hungry. So if I'm not hungry, I'm not going to worry about it. Then I'm going to go volunteer, or I'm going to go work on a quilt for a couple hours. And then once I'm hungry around 12:30, I will go and make some lunch, connect with my husband maybe. Then if I want to pick up this is if you want to pick up your granddaughter or whatever, if you volunteer to do that. And then you come home, you have a nice, maybe you go for a walk, or you can scroll a little bit, like whatever your ideal day is, I want you to picture it. Okay. So I want you to picture your ideal day, the person that you want to be. Okay. And then the last thing I want you to do is I want you to write down, what would it take for you to become that person? What shifts and changes would you have to make to create that kind of life? Now, Dr. Joe Dispenza, he talks about your personal reality is your personality. And he has a really good explanation where he says, you wake up on the same side of the bed and you do the same thing. You have the same coffee or breakfast, you drive to work the same way, or you do this thing. And basically, as he explained it, it's like you've basically become a robot in your life. And I thought it was so fascinating. He has a book called Breaking the Habit of Being You. And it's a very interesting book. I had to read the book and have the Audible at the same time. So look at all the pictures, the diagrams, and everything. This was a few years ago. But it was very interesting for me to read this book and to really look at how much robotic life that we have, and how different how robotic we can create our life. And if we have this intention and this awareness, like putting the lights on and realizing, oh my goodness, I am really just going through the motions of my life. I don't want to be this person anymore. Now, I'm going to share this story, and you can take it however you want. But growing up, my family, so I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters, and my mom was, she had her budget. She had $100 a person, and she was very consistent about, I only, spend this much. And I have continued that tradition because I like that idea. I like the idea of, and in fact, I'm actually a little bit fanatical about it. I will literally keep track of every single present. So even if I've spent more money on one gift for someone, I will then buy like 3 or 4 little presents and wrap those, because I actually make sure that everyone gets exactly the same number of presents. Like, I just like that, because one of my favorite things about Christmas is we all take turns. And obviously I don't have very many presents. Doesn't matter because I don't need them. But for my kids, it's just like really important to me. So one year, was actually my first year of coaching. And I have one of my sons, all he wanted was this new bike. And during COVID, my kids really got into biking, and it was really hard to find bikes. And then I would take them biking to Mount Washington, and it was like, We kept repairing the bikes, and they were better bikes, but they weren't the fancy, fancy bikes. They were like the semi-fancy bikes. Anyways, so he just wanted it so bad. And so he was searching for these, and these are really expensive. And anyways, we were able to find a bike that was the fancy, like hydraulics and all these things. And it was secondhand, so but it was still a lot of money. And I was just beside myself because I thought, how could I spend that much more money on one of my kids and not on everyone? But I couldn't afford to spend the same amount on all my kids. So I went to my kids and I said, guys, I have a dilemma. So, this brother of yours, all he wants is this bike. And it's gonna cost, and I was really transparent with my kids. It's gonna cost this much money, and but I can't afford to spend that same amount of money on all of you. So what do you think? And it was so fascinating. I'm gonna get a little teary. But the rest of my kids were like, Mom, of course you just buy that bike for him. And it was funny because I spoke to my dad. Now, my dad at this point has dementia. It was just beginning onset. But he was mortified. My father was like, there's no way you can do that. That is not what we do. You have to spend the same on everyone. And so anyways, I got coaching on it. I brought it to my coach. She probably coached me like 3 weeks in a row on it. And I just had a really hard time changing. And but we were able to kind of made a deal with Heavenly Father, with God, and I said, if I get this new coaching client, that's my sign that I can do this. And so I got this amazing coaching client, and so I knew that I could go and buy that. And I had full approval from my other kids, and they were all in, and it was very exciting. And so, but Christmas morning, I had like crackers for him because we have this whole thing where I start saving boxes in like October, like Halloween, I'm sorry, cereal boxes and things. So instead of like opening the cereal box and finding like a new shirt or new shoes or something, he was actually getting cereal. And he was starting to get a little bit like, "Oh, I'm getting actual crackers for Christmas. I'm actually getting like cereal for Christmas." He was kind of getting like confused because everyone else is getting, all these other presents. And then at the end, we brought out his brand new bike, and it was magic. It was just amazing. And the reason I share this story is because we have a lot of old traditions and ways of thinking, just like what Dr. Joe Dispenza said. Like we wake up on the same side of the bed, we do the same things, and we kind of just live this robotic life. And so for me to break that norm and to create that new family tradition and to have set that precedent to my children that it's okay to do those different kinds of things. And it was truly amazing to see what started happening. And so I started cracking these old traditions. So the next year we went on a airplane vacation, we call them, and we do things in a different way that serve my kids uh, and help them to learn and grow, and myself learning how to really change the mold. Like, so for losing this weight and then keeping it off, building a business and being a true entrepreneur and really going in, I have an education degree. I taught school for 10 years. And to allow myself to change and to grow and to do new things at the age of 50, it's so cool. It's so cool. And to see my clients do the same things. And, they're in their 60s and 70s and they're changing and they're really learning how to create their own best life. And they're no longer limiting themselves. So my suggestion, so like going back to what I said, the first one is doing a time tracker. So collect data. The second one is to picture your ideal day. So now you have on one side, this is what my reality looks like. And then on the other side, this is what I want my reality to look like. So then the third thing is, how are you going to bridge the gap between what your life looks like and what you want it to look like? And this is what I do inside my membership. One of the things that I feel is a disservice when I say to people, I'm a weight loss coach for quilters, they expect that they're going to get, sheets that say, here's some recipes and this has calories and these ones have bad calories and these ones have good calories. You think you're going to just get another diet. No, that doesn't happen. What you get is you get the learning and training on how to be in your own brain and look at your thoughts, look at your patterns, and you create a whole different life. It's very exciting. And then the weight loss happens as a side effect. So I want you to do that exercise. I want you to go and print off a calendar, a daily schedule for 3 days and collect that data. And then I want you to take yourself on a little date, or even when you're doing the dishes or whatever that is, and ask yourself, what is an ideal day? And then write it down. This is the big difference. When you write these things down, it's going to make it more of reality. And then the third one is, what do I need to change in my life so that I can create the life that I really want? And this is what happens inside my membership. This is how people change because they work on it throughout the calls. They work on it we have the modules, so they learn the tools, and then there's all the different worksheets. And I literally have tutoring for every single worksheet. I myself have recorded tutoring sessions for each workshop. That's all there in the membership. And so you never have to feel like you're alone. And then you have support on the calls and say, hey, I don't understand this. And if you're too nervous to say that, guess what? We have this feature called Ask a Coach. And you can write in anonymously and and myself or my other coaches will answer your questions. So there is no excuse. So just like this lady who came to my retreat, she says it's easy to sit on the fence and it's easy to find excuses, but you have to do the work. And I promise you to create your best year yet. Doing this exercise is going to make a huge difference. And I cannot wait to celebrate them with you. All right. You have an amazing day. Take care.
If you aren't loving your current life and hear yourself saying things like, I should be happier, I should be getting more done, or question how productive and fulfilled you are, this podcast is for you. I'm Dara Thomason, a professional quilter turned life coach for quilters, where I show you how to overcome obstacles like perfectionism, people pleasing, overeating, overcomplicating life, so that you can really start to enjoy your life by learning and using tools for your brain to help you transform your everyday living. Are you ready to make these changes? I'm ready to help. Let's start your transformation one UFO at a time.